When the video was first shown on the YouTube and I was asked to comment, there were several things that constrained my comments. One is that the investigation was still going on. Two is that there were charges laid, and in order for the charges to proceed appropriately in the course of our court system, I have held off doing this until the court proceedings are done. And lastly, of course, when I asked the public to refrain from making any judgment, I said to them, through you, that I would report back to the local media the findings of this investigation into the use of force. And that's what I'm going to do today. When the officers first encountered the suspect demonstrated assaultive behavior by attempting to punch an officer. Number one. An appropriate level of force for this action would be to deploy ole resin capsicum, which is listed on our use of force model as an intermediate weapon. The University of Western Ontario sergeant indicated that he deployed 2 bursts. This coincides with the training provided to officers, not only London police officers, but special constables that are trained by our use of force trainers. Officers are instructed to deliver 1 burst to the face. If no effects are evident, deliver a 2nd burst. If still no effect, officers are trained to transition to a complementary use of force option. The University of Western Ontario sergeant does this by transitioning to the expandable baton. Now, the University of Western Ontario sergeant delivered 2 strikes to the thigh area of the suspect. This area is a desired target of the body to strike and is recommended by the Ontario Police College and ASP, which is the manufacturer of the collapsible batons. As neither of these options were effective in stopping the threat, the officers disengaged to reassess the threat and gather additional resources. Now we move to the first level of the social science building. At a short time later, the suspect was located on the main floor of the social science building and was pushed up against the wall by the 2nd University of Western Ontario sergeant. When the 3 officers then arrived, 1 London police and 2 special constables, the suspect was brought to the ground. The suspect at this time was able to stay in a position which allowed him to maintain strength and balance. The suspect had his arms under his body and was attempting to stand. This was when the London police constable delivered knee strikes to the buttock area of the suspect in an attempt to force the suspect to his stomach to allow for the suspect to be handcuffed. While this was occurring, the University of Western Ontario special constable laid on the legs of the suspect, the base. The knee strikes were delivered to the large fleshy area of the body as per the training. These strikes are meant to cause a distraction and discomfort to the suspect to allow other officers to maintain control of the suspect's arms. Lying across the legs of the suspect is also a proven technique to control lower appendages of the body. University of Western Ontario sergeant delivered several strikes with his baton to the suspect's upper right arm. The initial strike was in the closed mode. 3 subsequent strikes were delivered with the baton in the open mode to the same area using 1 hand. 3 more strikes were delivered using 2 hands. All the time, the suspect was continually being combative with the officers, demonstrating assaultive behavior. An appropriate response to this action is to use an intermediate weapon, namely the baton, which he did. Using a baton in the closed mode and or in the open mode with 1-handed strikes and 2-handed strikes are all acceptable and all demonstrated and practiced during our annual baton refresher training. The London Police Service constable arrived in the scene and delivered numerous closed fists to the shoulder area of the suspect. Once again, the suspect refused to comply with the demands of the officer and refused to put his hands behind his back. All of the strikes are to the shoulder area of the suspect. Officers are instructed to hit this area to cause a distraction, which would allow, again, other officers to remove the arms from under the suspect. Now, it's not just force that is important here. Communication is a very important part of the use of force model and should be used throughout an incident when force is used. After reviewing all the statements from the witnesses, the officers involved, the videotape, which we have all seen, communication by the officers was used during this entire incident. All the techniques that were used eventually allowed the officers to control the arms and secure the suspect, and were able to effect the arrest and allow for quick medical intervention. The officer's statement, the videotape of this incident, and by review of the use of force trainers, it is my opinion that the officers used an appropriate level of force based upon their training and the use of force model that is used in the province of Ontario. And as I said from the onset, use of force is never pretty. If a person does not want to comply with directions and has physical strength, it is extremely difficult to make an arrest without causing serious bodily harm, and in this case, there was no serious bodily harm. It does not look good, but looks are not how I have to judge things. I have to judge things by the statements, by the information given by the officer's statements, the people that were there, and of course the final outcome, and that's what I've done today.